He got to the bureau, Suho realized that the more he could hear the voices during measurement, the higher his level. Kim Miso told him that the person who made the energy measuring device was a woman named Dr. Toddler from England. She had asked permission to visit and would let Suho know what the answer was once he got it. Suho planned to leave as soon as he got permission. Dong Suo congratulated Suho when he saw that his dimensional energy was above C rank. Su wondered if he was the only one who could see other people's information when he saw that his group had just found out his level. He asked the doctor who made the status window system, and she told him that engineers have a story about something called the God Stone. After the big accident, it was a key piece that changed the way the dimensional energy business worked. Suho and the other people in his group had never heard of it. After the big disaster, the doctor said, a big rock pillar with red writing on it showed up in Northern Europe. After the rock landed on Earth, it was found that awakeners in Northern Europe could see the status window. People who went through the great disaster worshipped it because they thought that the writings on it were messages from God. After the clues were figured out, pieces of the pillar were sent all over the world by different ministries. This made it possible for all awakened eras to see their stats through the status window, no matter where they were. The piece of rock pillar that was used to make the Bureau's dimensional computer is called the Godstone. It is the central processing unit of the Bureau's dimensional computer and allows the Awakener's status window to be managed. When Suho asked what the deciphered content was, the doctor told him that it was general information used by awakened errors, like how to use dimensional energy and the upgrade system. As they were leaving the office, they talked about how much money they got from raiding the dungeons that day. Dong-Su suddenly remembered that he may soon be an assassin because he got money from different countries. Junho wondered why they were still focusing on Suho, even though he had already proven to be a dungeon return. Dong-Su said that the messages praised Suho's ability to control plants because most of the world's food has to come from planet Ruka, because people are living on less land. But with Suho, the food crisis could be solved. Suho asked why Weedong Suho was killed. Dong-Su said it was because he was paid to talk to Suho, but wasn't doing it, and they were afraid that if Suho didn't show up in 2 days, they would kill him. Su asked what he needed to do, and Dong-Su said he needed to send a video message to the sponsors right now. Suho said yes, so they quickly recorded the message so they could eat. Su set it up and told Suho about it. Suho then said, "I'm not going," got up and left. Right away, Dong-Su got a message from a group in Japan asking him to go to Suho for a serious talk. Suho said it was fine for them to come, and Juno asked from which country the message came. He thought it was from Japan, but he didn't know for sure. In the meantime, the director of the DGP was told what Suho had done, and that he might go into the same dungeon where something bad happened before. The director thought about getting Suho to join their side by using a famous person. The chairman called the director and questioned what he was doing. He told the director to come back right away. The director told the chairman that what he was doing was good for their group and that he wanted to get Park Suho on board. He was told that the general manager had already been sent by the chairman. Sanji called the director and told him that she wanted to meet Park Suho. The director told her that he was on his way to pick her up. While looking for someone in a field, a group of people with guns saw a man using a drone and told him not to move. The group decided to help the man when they saw that goblins were all around him. The man shot one of the goblins, and when the others came after him, he tried to run away, but tripped and dropped his gun. Just as a goblin was about to attack the man who had fallen, the armed group shot it down. The group then told the man they were the ex-team of DAGB and told him to give up. They told someone else that they had caught the target and that they had been told to put it in the warehouse. The director was mad at his assistant for not keeping Suho until he got there. The assistant told the director that Suho had ignored him and gone into the dungeon. When the director asked how long it took Suho to come out the last time, he was told that it took 2 people 4 days, 11 hours, and 27 minutes to come out. The director was angry because he thought they had to wait for Suho for 8 days. Then Suho stood on top of a pile of dead orcs in the dungeon. He looked at his status window and saw that he needed 3 more points to open the beast farm. He could tell, though, that 1 more orc was still alive, so he used tracking to find it. Suho dashed to the last orc and killed it, earning 23 achievement points. He let men choose a place for the beast to live. Suho saw that there was one hybrid and thought it was back to another group of orcs charging at him, and a message told him to type in a summoning command. After giving it some thought, Suho called all of his wolves together with the goal of filling up his beast farm. The director got a call saying that Suho had already come out of the dungeon. The director didn't believe it because Suho had only gone in a few hours before. The assistant said that Suho had gone back in and come out again after only 2 hours. The director still didn't believe it and called Sanji. While this was going on, Suho kept fighting the orcs inside the dungeon. When a bunch of arrows were shot at them, Suho told his wolves to run away. The orcs were hit by some of the arrows, but the wolves ran away safely. As the orcs shot arrows at Suho, he turned the wings on his back into wings, flew into the castle, and used a tornado to stop the orcs. The orc lord jumped down in front of Suho and merged with one of the wolves. Suho attacked the orc lord, hitting it in the face and knocking it down. He then lifted the orc lord into the air with a tornado. Suho followed and gave the orc a kick that made it fall back to the ground. He then threw himself down hard and killed it. Suho ran to the wolf pan, used his skill to tame the wolves, and then sent them to the beast farm. Suho felt the effects of merging when he came out of the portal, and he realized that if he went back in one more time, he could fill all 100 spots in the beast farm. But Sanji went over to him. As Sanji came up to Suho, rumors were already going around about how they might be dating. When the director heard that Sanji had talked to Suho, he was very happy and rushed to where he was. When he got there, Sanji was crying, and he asked her where Suho was. She told him that Suho had left after a drink, and he told her that he didn't like her because she was weak. The director and his assistant were talking when they saw Suho come out of the dungeon. She was angry, so she got up and decided to wake him up. The director ran over to meet Suho, but Suho went back to the dungeon quickly, making the director angry. But Sanji stopped him, and the director was told to rest while Sanji ran the show. Sanji told the chairman that Suho's powers were stronger than they thought they would be. Suho looked at the farm's statistics and saw that it was already full, and that its capacity would go up to 200 at level 2. He decided to call it a day. Sanji introduced himself as Sanji and Demian from the DGB group and apologized for a past accident. He invited Suho to a meal, which Suho accepted. After dinner, Sanji gave Suho a present. Suho asked the DGP what he needed from him. Sanji said that they wanted to work with the Suho Guild. He said that the DGB Guild hadn't reached a level 6 combat team yet, so it couldn't represent one of Seoul's 12 sectors. Dusu said that he didn't want to be a member of one of the guilds of the 12 sectors. Sanji said that their goal wasn't to be one of the 12 guilds that represent the Seoul, but rather to work with the Suho Guild to make a 13th sector. He said that, just like the 12 sectors in the Seoul, a city will form around a level 6 guild that is stationed in a certain area. But the guilds in the 12 sectors are having trouble with level 6 dungeons, which is making people nervous. If the 13th guild, which can make people feel safe, is set up, people will move to the 13th sector, and the price of land will go through the roof. Sanji was sure that the Suho Guild could fulfill the hopes of the people. But there was one problem that the Suho Guild couldn't solve by itself. They didn't have enough money, people, or experience to build and run a city on their own. Some of the tasks were to rate dungeons, run dungeons, plan and build the city, and work with the government and different companies. Who knew that DGB had the money and experience but not the strength, and that they wanted to work with the Suho Guild so that they could use their strength. Sanji saw a chance to put money into the Suho Guild and asked if they could do it with just the members they already had. He told Suho that DGB would be the best guild for the Suho Guild to work with. Suho thought that DGB wanted to control the building of homes and businesses near the dungeons, but he agreed with what Sanji said. Suho asked for time to think about it. As he was getting up to leave, Sanji told him about another hard-to-get gift. The gift was from the wanted president of the Angari Loan Company, who had fled to the fields. Sanji offered to take care of him, but Suho said no and told Sanji to do whatever he wanted. But then Suho remembered something and called Junho. He told Junho that someone wanted to see him at the given address. Suho told Sanji that it would be taken care of by his younger brother. Junho went to the right place and was told to go to a container. Inside, he found the Angari Loan Company's president. When the loan shark asked if Suho was there, Junho told him that he wasn't. The loan shark laughed and said he was sorry for hitting him. Junho 4 told him that the Bureau and the DGB were to blame for tricking Suho into the level 5 dungeon. Junho was ready to leave, but the loan shark stopped him from getting out and getting the help he needed. The loan shark said that he gave Junho money and helped Gun's mother find work when they needed it. When the loan shark heard that Mother Junho's gun was stolen, he stopped and told her that he used to run the Gari Employment Center and that she used to come to him looking for work when she was desperate. The truth came out when the loan shark and his helpers went to Junho's house to get the money, but he wasn't there. Then, they gave Junho a contract to sell the organs of a family member and said that if Junho wasn't there when they came back the next time, they would take her instead. When Junho asked what happened, the loan shark told her that while she was holding Junho, she had begged for forgiveness. When Junho asked where she was, the loan shark said that if Junho agreed to help him, he would take him to her. In the meantime, Suho got a message from Kim Miso saying that Dr. Toddler had replied and agreed to meet Suho in England. Suho was excited to meet the doctor, who might know how the time mix-up, dimension crack, and planet he was on were connected. He hoped to find a way to get back together with his brothers. Suho tried calling Junho because he was worried about him, but he didn't answer. He gave his driver instructions to drive him to the DGB container. When Junho and the loan shark got to the place where they were supposed to be, Junho borrowed money from the loan shark, who told him that his men would take him to his wife. But as the loan shark greeted his men, they were surrounded by armed criminals. One of the thugs knew Junho and teased him about the loan shark. He told the rest of the group that Junho was looking for his wife and told them to take him there. They led him into a building and turned on the lights, which showed a grinder full of blood. Thugs talked about which grinder they used on Junho's wife. When Junho asked where his wife was, the loan shark attacked him and threw him to the ground. The loan shark said that he had put Junho's wife through a meat grinder while making fun of him for being a bad husband. The loan shark kept beating Junho with a bat and saying that Suho was to blame for his business failing. Junho had to take the beatings because after high school, when his memories came back, he couldn't do anything but play golf games. Then he met his future wife while dating. When they had a baby, Junho was playing games while his wife cried. In secret, he thought the only gift he could give her. The hysteria of someone running away from poverty and reality. One of the criminals told the head that the grinder was ready. After beating Junho, the loan shark told him to go see his wife. Junho thought that if he saw his wife again, he would beg for another chance. The leader told the criminals to break Junho's ankles like they did to his wife and then slowly lower him headfirst into the grinder. One of the criminals raised a sledgehammer to hit Junho, but he thanked them for reminding him of the past and said he deserved the pain, even though he didn't feel it. Junho even attacked quickly and cut off the arm of the bad guy with the sledgehammer. The thieves were caught off guard. Junho said that after his wife left, he promised he wouldn't do things like this again, but he couldn't let people like them live and be happy. When the thieves saw that Junho was an awakener, they ran away. The leader was cut into pieces, and Junho was so scared that he didn't stop killing criminals. The criminals were wondering where their snipers were, but Suho had already taken care of them. Suho then told the men from DGB to clean up the mess so that it wouldn't happen again. Representatives from DGB said that many of these people no longer had social security numbers, so it was unlikely that the government would pay attention to them. Suho was happy that Junho had become an awakener. Court showed that even though the frequent dungeon breaks in the giant Igdisigo region still posed a threat, the area seemed to be getting safer with the help of special forces from Seoul and Guangdong. But people were getting more worried because they thought that the guilds alone couldn't keep up with the rapid growth of dungeons. The soldiers cheered for the Special Forces 707 Black Cloud, which was the strongest combat team in Korea. The next piece of news was about Sanji and Suho's scandal. Soo-young was angry about his relationship. When Kim Miso heard this, she was told that they had increased the number of teams and the amount of loot, but they had not found any information about the treasure she was looking for. Miso realized that she needed to pay more attention to Suho and less attention to the dungeon level. Suho thanked her on the phone and asked what would happen if an awakener was bitten by a next-level monster. When asked if anyone had been bitten, they said no. Miso said that Awakener has been infected by necrovals 38 times. Suho denied it and said he was just interested. On the 48th day of observation, 1 person died of sudden leukemia, 26 got bald, 7 had occasional pain at the bite site, but no other effects, and 3 F ranks became neck rivals. The symptoms include a high fever, pain all over the body, and red eyes. It has been recorded that the lower the level, the higher the chance of becoming equal. Suho confirmed that the person who was bitten would be quarantined, and Miso said they would be taken to the International Disease Control Center in Australia. Junho thought they would be used in experiments. Suho then went up to a vendor and said hello. The vendor knew Suho and asked if he needed medicine for his brother. Suho said that it wasn't for his brother, but for someone who had been bitten on the leg by someone with a disease. He asked the vendor if he had any medicine that might work and told him that the last medicine he bought from him worked. After giving it some thought for a moment, the vendor gave him the medicine and told him how to use it. Suho bought 10 tins from the man and thanked him. The seller also said that if the person started shaking, they should knock them out and then give them the medicine. After Suho left, the police came and told the vendor that it was against the law to sell in that area. As the police looked for the vendor, he ran away. At the same time, my engine was in pain and writhing around while Junho, Jinwoo, and Dong So watched. Suho came with the medicine and knocked out my oxygen so he could give it to him. Suho had gotten crazy in Japan. People cheered when Hiro, Akita, and his team came out of a level 7 dungeon, but the party didn't last long because the team suddenly fell down. Reports said that 7 members of the team hadn't come back, which made people worry about how hard a level 7 dungeon was. At the hospital, Hiro woke up and was comforted by Akiko. She told him that Suho had invited Miso, the second in command of the Supernatural Bureau, which is in charge of national defense and has a higher reputation than the Awakener Federation. Heroes thought that the government was trying to get in touch with Suho, and they were upset that he was being used as a way to make the future better. He thought that Suho had messed up his plans and that he was gathering criminals for some bad reason. Heroes swore that he had to kill Suho to protect his own future and the future of all people. He then told Akiko to find a boat to take her to abuse, and in the meantime, Suho was talking to a monk who thanked Suho for helping him build a temple on his land. Suho was told that my engine was getting better and that he could work out in the morning and eat well. My young Jin told Suho about how he met his master and how his master died when the temple burned down. This event made him feel hate for the first time, which led him to kill people himself. He thought it was worth it, even if he had to become a criminal and be damned in the end. A fellow monk saved my young Jin from falling into the abyss because if he hadn't been able to get rid of the anger in his heart, he would have died in a dungeon. My young Jin told Suho that he had saved him and helped rebuild the temple after it had burned down, which helped him let go of the weight on his heart. He promised to join Suho on the way to an attack. Hiro came by boat to meet Suho. Junho told him that Sanji and someone from the DGB had called and said that they had finished the city plans using the draft Suho had given them. Suho told Junho to make sure the quality of the work was good, and he told Junho that he was going to England soon. However, he told Junho that Aaron's ship routes were closed because of the Wyvern Dungeon, so Junho suggested that Suck go. They found out that experts thought it would take China a month to get rid of the monsters, but Suho didn't want to wait that long. Dong-su suggested that they find a golden eagle that had woken up and train it. A video showed that there was a big golden eagle north of the DMZ. Suho and Akiko were on their way to Seoul at the same time. Akiko reminded Suho that if his location was revealed, it would cause a big problem, and she suggested that Suho be put in the spotlight like the SFC. Suho replied that he couldn't wait any longer and thought that killing him would be the easiest way out. When Suho and Dong-su got to the spot, they looked for a while, but they couldn't find the golden eagle they were looking for. Su called Su Young and asked her to help him find the eagle, but she cursed at him and hung up. Then in the distance, they saw a group of starfish flying. Dong-su showed Suho a report of a starfish dungeon break and told him that when they died, they exploded and burned everything around them. Dong-su and Sohee were in the forest when a flock of birds flew by. Dong-su saw that the fire was getting worse and suggested that they leave. Every animal in the area also ran away from the fire. They saw a golden eagle flying with the other birds, which made Suho very happy. Later, a news story about the wildfire in Gangland-do said that it was put out by a local updraft caused by the starfish dings. The starfish dings knew this was not true, so they uploaded a video showing a board charging through the fire and using a tornado to put it out. He took out the part where Suho passed out after using his wide area skills. Then, Jesh Ika and Jinhu asked Dong Su to go on a level to dungeon raid. Before he left, he posted a video of Suho turning into an eagle and flying to England. Kiko found the video after Suho had already left for London and told him about it. After watching the video, Suho thought that Suho was avoiding him on purpose and was being rude to him. He decided to confront Suho before he finished getting ready, and he planned to do so by making him angry. Suho was flying when he realized he couldn't go faster. He looked at his skill tree and saw that he could unlock skills with fire attributes, such as Fire Fairies, Fire Stream, and Twin Fire Streams. Then a warning came up saying that the time for fusion was almost up. 2 men were looking for a bull. They shot at it, but the bull kept running. Something fell out of the sky right in front of the bull, sending it flying. The 2 men were shocked. One of them was interested, but the other was only thinking about getting the bull back home. Suho came out of the hole, which made the men more careful. As Suho introduced himself to one of the men, they asked him questions. Kim Miso also said something about himself. Su Young told Suho that they were in sunny June when he asked where they were. Because Suho was still alive after falling from the sky, the men thought he was a strong awakener. The older man asked Suho if he had any friends. Suho said he did, but that he was alone at the moment. The older man told Suho to keep going on his journey and that they would take care of the bull. When Suho looked for his phone, he found that it was broken, and the men found that the bull had already died. They were about to cut it up to make it easier to move, but Suho asked for a blood crystal phone instead. Jong Sung had one, but the older man told him it would be dangerous to bring an awakener back to the village, because there were women and children there. Suho picked up the dead bull, which surprised the 2 men. He offered to help them carry it if they gave him their phone in exchange. The men whispered to each other, and Jong Song told them they needed to bring the bull back or they would die of hunger. The older man told him about what awakened heirs had done to their village the year before, when they first came as nomads but then brought their friends and robbed it. Duho told the other men to leave, and they told him to go with them. The older man wanted to leave Suho behind because he thought he couldn't keep up with the bull on his back. They were sad to have to leave the bull, so they ran faster, but they were surprised to see Suho running with them. People were surprised to see Suho carrying the bull when they got to the village. The older man's name was Jong Song. He asked why the gate was broken, and one of the villagers told him that some of the villagers went out to save him and that the winged beast suddenly appeared, shot fire everywhere, killed people, and caused panic. Jong Song heard about the shelters, but he fell in and was taken by the monster. Jong Song asked where the monster took him, and they told him that it went over the Rocky Mountains. Jong Song got on his motorcycle and left right away. Jong Song asked Suho for help as well. Suho told him to give him their phone when he got back, so he took off for the mountain. At the same time, the men who came to help him were being attacked by a huge bear. The bear swiped at one of them and sent him flying. The group ran at the bear, but it was too strong for them. When the bear got close to the leader, Suho came out and kicked the bear away. The other people in the group were surprised and asked who he was. Suho told them that he was helping Jong Song. He asked where he and I were, and I told him that I had taken her to the mountain where the birds' nests were. Suho saw that one man was badly hurt and gave him a potion to help. The bear suddenly showed up behind Suho, but he kicked it several times, which made it fall over. The bear was only pretending to be dead. Suho told it to stand up and go with him. The bear sat down right in front of Suho, so he gave it the name Il-GM. He saw that the animal with wings had taken its place, which made the bear angry. Suho asked the bear to lead him to the winged creature so he could get his revenge. In response, the bear roared with excitement. When Jong Seong came, Suho told him about his plan to bring the child back and for them to keep their promise. Then Suho took the bear with him and flew toward the mountain. While this was going on, a hurt dragon was eating in a cave while he was afraid. Al-GM and Suho came and attacked the dragon. Suho merged with the bear and learned that the monster was a wounded wyvern. The wyvern bit Suho's arm, but he beat it by smashing it to the ground and throwing it out of the cave. Suho told him to stay still, and he thought about whether he could tame the wyvern since it had more dimensional energy than he did. He then got a message about taming wyverns. It said that if the beast's dimensional energy is 100 points higher, it can be tamed if its constitution is below 10. Suo's emotions suddenly got the best of him, and he punched the wyvern, making it fall off the mountain and lowering its constitution to 16. Suho struggled to keep himself in check and kept attacking him. This is the end. Please leave a comment below if you want us to do next part. Don't forget to like the story and hit the bell for more